Shalom, call Yahbashin Yahusha, Shalom to the left. Now I'm just running through some scriptures in the book of Obadiah, pointing out who Esau is and exactly what he's going through right now. And man, this should bring joy to you. I know that's the first scene that I was cracking up when I'm gonna let this play. And you got Esau sitting in front of his legendary bookcase.
Most of us are coping with this shutdown we've been living through, but many cannot. And please don't reach for the clicker, because you need to know something that's been happening. And
don't reach for that clicker.
It's an important story we have been following all along on this show. Suicides among active duty members of the United States Army increased by 30% in the 6 months since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic.
God damn. Hey. Hold on, let me read this scripture real quick. Where that junk at? Let me go back to it real quick. It's in the book of Obadiah, in verse 9, it says, "And thy mighty man, O Teman, shall be dismayed to the end that everyone of Mount Esau may be cut off by slaughter." And these Edomites, they fucking dismayed right now. Let me display some more.
Matching an overall rise in violent behavior among almost all branches of the military, while U.S. Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy cannot definitely say the spike in suicides and murders is because of COVID, he points to a direct correlation from when COVID started and when numbers actually went up. Why is this happening, and what can you do to help? Let's ask Matthew Ho, a former United States Marine and Pentagon and State Department official and certified peer support specialist for mental health.
And that's what Esau is, a fucking hoe. That's what they is.
Substance abuse disorder. And as Matthew and I talk, we're going to show you some numbers on the bottom of your screen. And if you're hearing this as a podcast, I will read these numbers to you.
I know, now look, before I let this go anymore, because some people I know to be watching these videos and probably be like, damn. I actually had a woman tell me, and she's like, damn, you talking real vulgar, maybe you tone it down a little bit. Well, hold on, what does the scripture say? Book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 2, verse 11 and 6, it says, "But though I be rude in speech, yet not knowledge." It says, "But we have been thoroughly made manifest among you in all things." So, yeah, so fucking what? I be a little rude in speech. English ain't our language any damn way. It's just the language we speaking now. Well, let me let this play some more.
The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 800-273-8255. And if you are a veteran, you can reach out to the Wounded Warrior Project at 888-997-2586. That's 888-WWP alum. Matthew, in the first 3 months of 2020, we read that military suicides were actually declining. Then came coronavirus. How is the pandemic especially tough on our men and women in uniform?
Thank you for having me on, Holland, and thank you again for talking about this topic. With regards to the crisis line, I've called it myself. I've struggled with suicidality since coming home from the wars. I carry this card with me at all times for myself as well as for others. So if you are struggling or if someone you know is struggling, please use that line. That phone number. That phone number is also available to people who are.
And see, they don't understand this because they don't have a spirit to understand this. When motherfuckers be sitting around thinking about suicide, that's a fucking demon whispering in your ear, like, "Oh, no, nobody loves you. Go ahead and do it. You might as well just go ahead and leave. Your girl don't want you no more." Damn spirit come jump on your ass, and then hey, the Most High want to give you up to that. He'll give you up to that.
Friends and family members who are looking for help. And I urge them to call as well, because this is a very difficult thing to endure, not just for the person who's struggling with suicide, but for the family and friends. And so what we're seeing, and I'm so glad you're talking about this, what you're seeing is yes, within the U.S. military, there has been a 20% increase in suicides in 2020, with the Army leading the way basically with 30% increase in suicides. This is maybe not to be unexpected because of the high rate or what we're witnessing as an increase in suicide among the general population. However, you can't really compare the military to the general population because of the wide difference in demographics. So while we can point to the civilian population and say, well, hey, suicides in the civilian population are going up, so it's just natural that the military suicides are going up, it doesn't really work that way, again, because of the great differences in the demographics, right? Just because you have a lot more people of color in the military than you do in U.S. society. You have a lot more males in the military. You have a lot more younger people, etc.
And before I let this play some more, a lot of people in the military, they don't even believe in the Most High. A lot of them practice witchcraft and get into a whole bunch of other demonic ass shit. So what the Most High do? I know this personally. I know people that get into masonry and all type of other shit. That's in the book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 28. It says, and even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, Yahweh gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. And committing suicide, that ain't fucking convenient, man.
It's important to note that the U.S. military didn't start counting suicides until either 2000 or 2001. And so we just don't have the data for decades going back about how the military was affected by suicides. But over these last 2 decades, what we have seen is a steady increase in the number of suicides. So up until around 2007, 2008, the U.S. military, active duty members, again, not veterans, but active duty members, consistently had lower rates of suicide than the civilian population, than the general public. However, around that point, around 2007 or so, you start to see this increase. And since then, it has been, the trend has gone up every year. And since 2017, 2018, 2019, there have been record numbers of suicides among the U.S. military. Now, it was going down at the beginning of the year, but what we've seen is a steep increase since coronavirus has hit. And, there may be a number of reasons for that, but one of the chief reasons I would suspect is that the U.S. military enforces a very strict quarantine on its service members due to the pandemic. And that may be having an effect in terms of that isolation, that inability for social interaction, that the depression that comes along with being isolated, that
Sure.
may be having an effect on it.
I see all these plagues that was put upon us, now they coming upon these Edomites. And that's how you can see who is who in the scriptures, because really, it's like I got a text, but to know who is who, you got to read the characteristics. Just like if you, let's see, I'm trying to think of an example. You think about sports or something, I keep referring to sports and different shit like that. This person is in the football game. This person, he blocking and guarding the quarterback. So what they gotta mean necessarily? That he a lineman. But this person always running the ball. He gotta be a running back. Same thing with these characteristics. Who the mighty hunter on earth? Who be doing all the hunting? Who made they symbol the eagle? Who build their buildings up with rocks like they caves and shit? Who set their nest among the stars? That only point to one set of people on this earth. Who rule the earth right now? Who control the financial system, medical field, and all that stuff? That only point to a certain amount of people. Now, who been through captivity the most? Slavery, abuse, heavy plagues and death, all type of oppression. Who that point to? So you gotta know who is who when you read these characteristics of these people. Now, let me see what I'm gonna read that. Yeah, it's a book of Obadiah still, verse 6. It said, how are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? And this is how his hidden things are sought up. One of the main things is seeing his characteristics, reading the scriptures, and then lining up what's going on around the world right now. Now I'm going to read on down. It says in verse 7, all the men of thy confederacy, which who else called themselves Confederate soldiers? Now it says, have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, that they that eat not bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding them. And see, these Edomites, if they understood, like, man, you know what? These people that we have up under us, these people that we've been oppressing, these people that we put through slavery or whatever, we need to let these people go. We need to give them some type of reparations, which they can't even afford the reparations. Esau financial system is fucking through. But just said they really want to do that. We need to give them some type of reparation, setting them up in their land or put them where they're supposed to be or whatever, and let them leave. So we don't have to oppress them no more and bound them with no social number and all this other shit. And maybe Most High have some mercy on us. But they ain't got no understanding, so they ain't gonna do that shit. So in verse 8 it says, shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise man out of Edom and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And back in verse 9 it says, and thy mighty man, O Teman, shall be dismayed. Like you see this going on right here. Most of these soldiers, there's a lot of Edomites. You got people in there too. Majority of these soldiers is doing this. It's mainly Edomites. Now it says, shall be dismayed to the end that everyone of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. Verse 10, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. And now a lot of these Edomites, they be shamed. They be, oh, that wasn't us. That was our forefathers. Which I'm gonna get a precept on that after this. It says, and thou shalt be cut off forever. There's another scripture that says basically they should be judged for the iniquities of their fathers. So yeah, these people that be running around, oh, that wasn't us. That was my great grandpa, my great great grandpa, my great great uncle. But you really come back as those people after a certain amount of generations. Let me get this scripture real quick. Hold on 1 minute. It's in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 21. It says, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities. Because if it was up to Esau, they'd cut down all these fucking trees, dig up all these beaches, lay cement and shit everywhere, and put cities everywhere, go to every island, do the same shit. But thanks to Yahweh and Yahushua, that ain't going down like that. Now, we read on some more back in the book of Obadiah. It says, in verse 11, it says, in the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captives his forces, and foreigners entered to his gates, because right now over in our gates, there's foreigners over there. It says, and cast lots upon Jerusalem. Who else cast lots? Who else was putting them lots? Let me look up this word. Now, one definition says a particular group, collection, or set of people or things. Another one, it says divide items into lots for sale at an auction. Well, our people, they was treated like items. Let me see, let me go down some more. No, you pull this up, and you actually search this up. These was the people that was put on these lots. This is one of the main ones right here. This thing that y'all looking for. I seen this a while ago. You don't really hear no other stories about people being put on lots like this. So that will point to a certain amount of people on the earth. Who was who? Who was Esau? Who was Jacob? Let me read the scripture one more time. It says, back in verse 10, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob. They was being violent too. They was putting people on lots. They weren't just going, I'm going to go ahead and just stand right there real quick. I'm going to put you on some nice little clothes and little stuff. Get a little jewelry and all that. Even though there's one picture they depict that, but that's just some little artwork. They wasn't doing that shit like that. Let me find a truthful looking picture. Splitting up families. Woman go one way. Father go one way. Kid go one way. Who was doing that? Who that was getting done to? It says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee. Thou shalt be cut off forever. And that's why you see Esau going down. Part of the reason. Because Esau got a huge tab they got to pay. Now, verse 12 it says, but thou shouldst not have looked on the day thy brother, and the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldst thou rejoice over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Because our people, we fucked up too. We weren't doing what we were supposed to do. So Most High used these Edomites as a whooping stick. They'll put us in subjection for a time being. But they knew who we were, so they could have been like, you know what, we're gonna fight this, and we ain't gonna do that to them. Wait for them to try to get right. And no, they rejoiced. It says, thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldst thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Verse 13 it says, thou shouldst not have entered into thy gates of my people in the day of their calamity. Yeah, thou shouldst not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Now you had that devil Columbus, he made the little term manifest destiny. Basically saying that they were supposed to do that, which they were. But they ain't let up though. The story goes that he couldn't put his sword down. He shed so much blood. He couldn't put his sword down. He still wanted to kill. Now verse 14 it says, neither shouldst thou have stood in the crossway to cut off the noose of his that did escape. Because you had some of my people that actually escaped. And what they do? Grab them, lynch them in front of everybody, burn them up. The list goes on. It says, neither shouldst thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the days of distress. But guess what? That shit finna change though. And I'm just end this off. I ain't gonna play the rest of this video. Y'all can want to see this and build on it. It's right there on RT. And it says, I read on the book of Obadiah, verse 15. It says, for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen, and thou hast done as thou hast done. It shall be done unto thee. But you have everybody be like, oh, now you got to forgive and forget. You can't hold on to that. But they always talking about karma and shit. It says, as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. So whatever you do to somebody, it's going to come back to you. It might not happen the same day, same week, next month. Eventually, it's going to come back to. It says, thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as you have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathens drink continually. Yeah, they should drink, and they should swallow down, and they should be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness. And the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Just like how they did us. We're gonna have all this stuff, all that. And the least, see, they so stupid and lack understanding. They don't even know they storing up all that gold and all that stuff in them vaults just for us, so we can go build up New Jerusalem. But we ain't gonna build it up. They building it up. Now, verse 18 it says, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau a stubble. They shall kindle in them and devour them, and there should not be any remaining of the house of Esau. For the Lord Yahweh has spoken it. And man, when that day come, man, it's going to be some bottle popping there. It says in verse 19, that they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain of Philistine. And we're going to put them Hamites back in down subjection too. It says, and they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead. And the captivity of the host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, even unto Zarephath, and the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sepharad, I should say. It says, shall possess the cities of the south, and Savior shall come up on the Mount Zion to judge the Mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. Hey, and I'm going to end this off with one more precept, because there ain't going to be no peaceful, peace treaty shit going on. Like how Esau be trying to play them little peace games and then come in and just wipe shit out. It's in the book of Daniel, chapter 7. Verse 18, it said, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. And that's what's going to happen, man. They ain't giving it up easy. Them elites, they got their little space stations and space hotels and their underground bunkers, big-ass submarine boats and all that shit. They ain't trying to give that up. It's going to get took, though. So I just want to put this out. You see Esau through. Esau is through. Hey, Shalom on to the left, man. Call all y'all about shit, y'all show.